How can we stay in the awakened state? A talk with Unmani.
So this theme of how can we stay in the awakened state is, well, it's one of those tricky questions, or let's say more paradoxical questions that have a paradoxical answer. Because first of all, we have to look at what is the awakened state. And even calling it a state is not quite true. Perhaps you might have experienced an experience of recognition or an awakening experience where you felt yourself as you knew yourself to disappear. And perhaps the experience was a very expansive experience. There were no thoughts in that time. It can be a short experience, very momentary, or it can be for some time. It can last for some time. Some people even describe those experiences as blissful, a sense of oneness, wholeness, nothing missing, perfection, peace, where perhaps you recognize that I'm not this limited me located in this body, but in fact, I am unlimited, the whole of life. And this experience of recognition or awakening, it comes, and then at some point it goes. The experience passes. Like every experience, it must come and then it must go. This is the nature of experience. Every experience without exception. So what tends to happen for most people is that they have this experience of recognition, and in that experience there's no thought necessarily, but afterwards, once that experience starts to pass or fade, thoughts come back in, trying to grasp hold of it, trying to make it mean something about me and my spiritual status, or it implies that whatever I did to generate that experience, that must be the right thing to do, and so therefore I must keep going with that. Or I did something right and now I've done something wrong. I got it, I lost it. All these kind of thoughts, making a me in some way meaningful in relationship to this experience, and the experience of it passing also. And then ordinary life, whatever it is for you, being human, whatever whatever messy stuff is going on in your human life, seems to come back. And for a while, it can seem like you crash down to the ground. Because if you've had an experience of being really high and blissful, blissed out, then the contrast of your human experience, your ordinary emotions, thoughts, sensations, interactions with others that are now seen not to just be in oneness, but a me and the other again. All of that is now believed to mean that something is wrong, something is missing, and I need to try to get back there to that beautiful state of oneness and wholeness. Yeah. So then this chasing the state, the experience, that beautiful expansive state goes on. And you might have that experience again at some point. And then again it passes. And again you chase it. And this is what happens for so many spiritual seekers. They're chasing this state, this experience. And, you know, this state is a beautiful state. There's no denying that. Of course, if we have that experience, we enjoy basking in that state. But the trouble starts when it passes. These thoughts that try to grasp hold of it and make it mean something about a me cause trouble, because this experience of recognition doesn't mean anything about a me. In fact, what you recognized in the midst of that experience is that there is no me. There is no separate entity in here negotiating and navigating in the world out there. There is simply oneness and wholeness. So when the experience passes, it doesn't mean that what you've recognized passes. And this is radical, because so often we are so interested in the experience for me, what the experience means about me. So it's radical to really say, well, actually the experience can pass. But what did I recognize in the midst of this experience? This is the awakening that doesn't depend on experience. So we enjoy the experience while it's here, sure. But when it passes, there's no surprise. Of course it's going to pass at some point. And it doesn't mean that I've now lost something, or there's something wrong with me, or I've done something wrong, or that now I need to make a lot of effort to get back there. In fact, these beautiful states or experiences of awakening, they come by themselves. It sometimes seems as if what you have done or where you are or who you're with can affect these experiences, and who knows, maybe. Sometimes an energetic, certain circumstances where there's an energetic resonance, this can provoke that sense of expansion and recognition. And so then the thought says, well, it's dependent on those circumstances or that person. But essentially, the experience came, and it doesn't really matter why or how. It just came, and it's a gift, but then it also just passes for no reason at all. So it doesn't mean anything about who you are. And this is really the bottom line. So it's not about how can I stay in this awakened state. See, this is normally what we are trying to do. We're trying to stay in that state and make that state permanent, rather than seeing that it's a temporary state that comes and goes, maybe comes again and again every so often, but eventually it goes. And this is just the nature of it. So often we have this misconception that if we work really hard and make a lot of effort or do something where we can generate this experience again and again, then perhaps the experience of that state will become one long permanent state. You know, certain practices and situations do generate these states. And so if you keep practicing, perhaps that state will be elongated a bit. But eventually it will pass, or it will change in some form. So we have to acknowledge that this is the nature of these experiences. So then, as I said, the question is not how can I stay in this awakened state? It is, in fact, how can I know what is beyond all states, all temporary states and experiences? How can I acknowledge the truth of who I am, that is always aware of all states and experiences? First of all, we have to let go of our grasping hold of these states. Because often when we've had a beautiful experience in the past, we're just hoping that one day we'll get back there. And we spend so much energy on that hoping and waiting. At a certain point, we have to realize that it's hopeless. We have to really come to that realization by ourselves that it is really hopeless that you'll ever be able to hold on to any particular experience, no matter what it is. But in order to know that for yourself, you have to try, you have to wait, you have to hope, and you have to see for yourself that it is hopeless. You have to fail. You have to try a lot and then fail a lot. And this is how it is. I mean, it's quite a painful process, this trying and failing. But this is how you discover for yourself that there is no hope of maintaining any particular state. No matter how beautiful a state it is, eventually something will happen in your human experience that will bring you down to the ground again. A loss, a tragedy, a big change, a sickness, end of a relationship. You know, anything can happen, but it's often something, let's say, a bit more tragic, often that reminds us that actually all beautiful states cannot be an escape from our human experience. Eventually, we have to face the reality, and the reality is often a very raw and uncomfortable experience of being human. And like all experiences, even discomfort passes, just like bliss passes. And none of it means anything about who you are, because who you are is aware of all states, even the so-called awakened state, or the awakening state. And when you acknowledge that, and you see that no states are worth making all that effort for, because they will pass anyway, then you see for yourself that awakening, or that knowing of who you are, is not a state. It's you. And you can't move from that state. It's not a state, but you can't move from that. So there's no question of how can I stay in it. You are that. It seems to be only that there is a game of forgetting and remembering. And there are those moments of remembering where you have those beautiful experiences of the awakening. There's a remembering, and then there's a forgetting, and then there's a remembering and a forgetting. And the forgetting is where thought, the thinking, is taken to be meaningful again. As if there is meaning about me. But when you see, it's just a thought, then you're not identifying with it. You're not believing that it means anything about who you are. And you see for yourself that No matter what thought says, it cannot touch or change this knowing of who you are.